Hey, what is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and today I'm going to discuss Sonic the Hedgehog, which I just don't discuss often enough, kind of because he hasn't been relevant in quite a while, pretty much since Sonic Boom. But it's the 25th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog. A couple of people have been bringing it up. There's been some pretty interesting videos showing up online, on YouTube. It's a pretty cool conversation to have about what should be happening with Sonic the Hedgehog this year to celebrate his 25th anniversary. And because I am still a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan, I don't care what anyone says and how shitty some of his games have obviously been, I still love Sonic. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, gaming on the 8 and 16-bit consoles. I remember when Sonic the Hedgehog was brand freaking new, and he blew everyone's balls off with Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis. And the first Sonic the Hedgehog game, this is going to really surprise you guys. The first Sonic the Hedgehog game, which I had a chance to play at my friend Eddie's house when I was a little kid. I would have been like 10 years old, I guess, when the Genesis came out. That is the reason why my brother and I decided to go with the Sega Genesis instead of the Super Nintendo, which I know sounds crazy and blasphemous and really surprising for me because, you know, I'm a huge Nintendo guy. And it's actually really funny because of the shirt I totally just realized this is an accident, but can you guys see what this shirt is? Anyway, so that's Sonic the Hedgehog. I thought was so awesome when I played it at my friend's house, and I was like, wow, the graphics are so cool and Sonic's cool. I'd seen commercials and now I'm actually playing the game, and it was great. And I had played other friends' Super Nintendos as well, and we loved that, and our parents were going to buy us one of the systems, and it's like, which one do you guys ultimately want? And I was so in love with Sonic that I was like, Genesis, we've got to have a Genesis, and that's what we had. Years later, I ended up getting a Super Nintendo, so I still experienced and played plenty of Super Nintendo games, but the Genesis was the main console in our household for a long time after the NES. And it was because of Sonic. So I have like a deep-seated love for the guy, for the Hedgehog. I think that, you know, his best games far outshine his worst games, and that's the whole controversy in the conversation people talk about Sonic is, he sucks, he should have been dead for years, and it's time to finally kill him off, and all this ridiculous, crazy nonsense. Crazy shit to kill off Sonic. Sonic will never go away. I think that Sega knows that no matter what, he's always going to have bearing. It's a conversation to have is what should happen with Sonic. I think that's always going to be the case, and he'll never go away for that reason, I don't think. And so, because of that, and because I love Sonic, mostly the older Sonic games, I wanted to discuss just kind of what I, as a super huge Sonic fan, would like to see out of the 25th anniversary for Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, so what do I think of when I think of games for Sonic to celebrate the 25th year? I think of a lot of things. I think of what has made Sonic the best in its history, you know? Obviously the 2D gaming. I think of what would work to make Sonic feel kind of relevant for today, you know, modern. Obviously that's been the struggle that Sega and the Sonic team and other teams, Big Red Button, have been trying to do for a long time, is make Sonic feel modern and relevant in whatever current age, you know, we've been going. And obviously that started with trying to bring Sonic into 3D, which I think worked really well with the first Sonic Adventure. And then they just got off track and they've really struggled. They've had a couple of surprise success games in the 3D space, but for the most part, it hasn't worked out that well. I never played Sonic Unleashed, which I really I kind of regret because I hear that one's not so bad. Sonic Heroes was a game that I didn't play, but I watched quite a bit of. It looked okay, and I think that some people consider that to be an okay one. There's another one, Sonic Unleashed, and there was another one around that time that I think it was the Sonic and the Black Knight. That was another one I never got to try, which is a shame. You know, and then Sonic Adventure 2 really let me down. I thought the first Sonic Adventure was great when that came out on the Dreamcast. It was brand new, first time we'd seen Sonic that way. It's so painfully dated now, but at the time it was awesome. Best music I ever heard, best graphics I'd ever seen. You know, loved it when it was brand new. Sonic Adventure 2 super let me down. Sonic 06 is the absolute unmitigated disaster that the internet tells you. It is that bad. Oh my god, what a shame. Sonic and the Lost Rings was okay. And then there's the other games that I think are really good. Sonic Colors, is absolutely the great game that the internet tells you. Sonic Colors is the best game, I think, since he's been in 3D. Sonic Generations, also very, very fantastic. That's right behind that. Recently, we have on the Wii U, Sonic Lost World and Sonic Boom. Everyone's favorite game, Sonic Boom, which you know I have played and I made a 20-minute review way back, and it was a very popular review. So that was pretty cool. Sonic Boom is an interesting case of they tried to experiment with Sonic, and I actually appreciate, this is going to sound crazy, I actually appreciate Sonic Boom for what they tried to do. And I actually kind of still enjoy that game and can play it a little bit. Mostly because it's just an interesting thing to see, like what they did with that game and how it fell apart. I feel like if that game had more time, and if it wasn't as glitchy as it turned out to be and buggy and totally unfinished feeling, and if they had, I guess, I hate to say, rely on the visuals thing, but I think that there was a really good visual engine that they were working on and didn't get to complete. If they made that game look really good, and if it wasn't buggy and glitchy, there could have actually been a pretty cool, very story-centric, Uncharted-y kind of Sonic game in there somewhere. There could have been. So I can play it and sort of see what would have been when I play that game. But I will still admit, just like I said in my review, it is a broken game. The frame rate is fucked. There are so many glitches and bugs to the point that it sometimes does almost break the game. So that's why that game is a disaster. But those, when you look at the other games that I mentioned, Sonic Lost World and Sonic Colors, I almost mess up the titles, Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, those three games of the last couple years are great. And to me, I've said this before, I actually feel that despite Sonic's problems before Sonic Colors came out, I think Sonic has been trending upward until Sonic Boom took a big dip down. But before that, we were trending upward with Colors, Generations, and Lost World. I really like Lost World. I think that it was a great foundation for hopefully an improved sequel if they would ever make a sequel. So, something else that also had been happening with the Sonic games too that a lot of people haven't been talking about is the Game Boy Advance and DS games. Like there was a Sonic Rush series and Sonic Advance that were like 2D sprite games just like the old Genesis games that were released on the, DS and the Game Boy, and those kicked ass. Those games worked so well. And obviously, when we think about what Sonic should do going forward, if I was going to pick a dream game or two for the 25th anniversary, I think that we should have a 2D Sonic game, And they tried it with Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episodes 1 and 2, which was supposed to be 4 parts, and we haven't seen parts 3 and 4 yet. I actually, regrettably, never have played those games, and I really wanted to try them. So Sonic the Hedgehog 4, if they could bring out parts 3 and 4 this year, that would be a great way to celebrate the 25th anniversary because those are traditional 2D games, and let's see how good those games really are. Release a full package of Sonic the Hedgehog 4. That would be awesome. Do a brand new game that's a side-scrolling game just like those old school games. Whether you released it on the consoles or you made it for the 3DS, I would take either one. Very happy with the 3DS side-scrolling kick-ass brand new Sonic the Hedgehog game. On the console front, it's trickier. I think that Sonic needs to be, everyone has said this, and I'm going to echo this, Sonic needs to be owned by Nintendo. Sega needs to have a partnership with Nintendo where it's like, we're going to work and let you help us make a game. I think that's kind of what happened with Lost World, and that's why I think so much of Lost World works. Not all of it does. There's some control issues for sure. It's not a perfect game, but it's a pretty damned good attempt, and a lot of the ideas work. The level design is fantastic. It's visually great. The best looking Sonic game I've ever seen. And I think that if Nintendo could actually take ownership of a Sonic the Hedgehog game, they would knock it out of the park. We all know what they would do if they actually developed a Sonic game alongside Sega. It would be fantastic. So that would be really cool. I've done a lot of listening to Game Explain's recent 30-minute podcast where they discuss Sonic the Hedgehog on the 25th anniversary. They bring up that there are some rumors and some leaks of some Sonic games. One of the big ones is Sonic Adventure 3. Some people think that Sonic Adventure 3 is going to be happening sometime soon. And I think I'd be okay with that. I don't know that I really want that kind of big open world Sonic game. They tried that a couple times. It only worked once for the first Sonic Adventure, and they created a game that sadly is not timeless because that game is not playable today. And I think the best games can be timeless. Even Ocarina of Time, for example, it may not be as good as it is today as it was back then, but it's still very playable and it's very fun and enjoyable for anyone, even someone who'd never played it. Sonic Adventure, not the case. You can't play that game today. So I feel like Sonic Adventure 3, I would be excited if they announced it, and I'd be curious to see if they could actually make it work. But it's not as ideal to me as doing something a little bit more akin to what Lost World or Colors was. I think that's the greatest way to do it. So give us a side-scrolling 2D game, whether it's old school sprites or it's really flashy new graphics. Make that on consoles or on the 3DS, or do something like a Sonic Colors. I think that there's a huge benefit to bringing Sonic into that modern light and making those kinds of games work today. And I think that there could be an audience. You know, Lost World almost could have found a really, really great audience for a lot of people, and they had really cool DLC, and some people got super into that. I just think that there's a world for Sonic to continue. And I appreciate some people getting excited and talking about the 25th anniversary of Sonic. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I love Sonic. I think that I will always love him. And I think his best games, like I said, do outshine all of those shitty bad ones from the early and mid-2000s. I get that there was a string of very bad Sonic games for a while, and it's too bad. And it's too bad that Sonic Boom sucked so hard, because I do think that there is potential. I think that there was a vision there, that there just wasn't the time or money or talent to complete. I just don't think that the right people and things were happening to make that game be what it should have been. So it would be interesting if we had another attempt at a Sonic Boom console game. There is Sonic Boom Fire and Ice coming out for the 3DS this year, so we'll see how that thing turns out. But, you know, as far as like the large-scale, epic scope ambition game of a Sonic Boom 2 on the Wii U or the NX or a console, it would be cool to see them try to deliver on the initial game's promise. I don't think we'll ever see that, sadly. But, you know, who knows? I guess we'll have to see. Long story short, in wrapping up this video, as I said, I'm a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan. I will always be a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. And I think that we will get more great games from Sonic in the future. Not talking mobile games. I'm talking, you know, actual handheld platforms and, you know, gaming console platforms. I think that we'll see good Sonic games in the future, and where that goes, I don't know. But the fact that they've never gone back to the 2D side-scrolling handheld games like they did with the DS and the Game Boy blows my mind. You know, there's rumors and leaks of 3 Sonic games this year to celebrate the 25th anniversary. If that's the case, Sega, you got to let that cat out of the bag soon. Let us know what's happening. Show us what games you're doing. Be ambitious, but don't forget what makes Sonic great in the first place. Go back to the 2D side-scrolling roots. Go back to what made Generations and Colors work, and you can make Sonic awesome again. I know it. I so super believe in that. And, yeah, I believe in Sonic, so I'm going to leave it at that, you know. Very excited for the 25th anniversary. What do you guys think about this? Do you hate Sonic as much as other people do? Do you think it's time for him to die? Or are you more positive like I am, and you think Sonic still could have some things to do and some things to say in gaming still? And maybe this year we'll see a great new Sonic game again. Could we get the return of Sonic this year? Who knows? I guess remains to be seen. But share your guys' thoughts below. Thanks so much for tuning in as always, guys. This, again, is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.